Alright, in this video we'll go over time frames and how I use them. So on my screen I like to have SPY on the left, QQQ on the right, and I keep these on the 15-minute. And then once we get a break of one of our levels, for example on this one right here, we broke our pre-market low, and then we broke our orb low as well. So that candle started at 8 a.m. So once I get that kind of confirmation, I go down to the 5-minute, which is on the left, and then the 2-minute, which is on the right. And then in here is where I like to look for an entry on any sort of pullback. And then on the right, I use the 13 EMA, which is the yellow, the 48 EMA, which is the purple, and then the red EMA, which is the 200. And then pretty much anything above the 200, I'd look for calls. Anything below it, I'd look for puts. The 13 EMA and the 48 serve more of the entry for me. And pretty much on a retest to those EMAs is where I would start looking to enter. So today we got that 8 a.m. break at 8 a.m. Yep. So at 8:15 we start looking for our entry, and then we see I was ready to take this actually, and it never met my requirement for it, my criteria. So then it's around this time we start looking for the pullback. So then ideally, once we start looking for the pullback to the 13 EMA, I'd like to look for a break of this trend. And there's usually, most of the time, you'll see some sort of move into the 13 EMA where you can get a flag. So ideally, I'd like to just mark that trend line and then wait for a break below that trend line to enter the puts. So since we didn't break that right here, that was invalid for me, so I didn't take the puts. So that's one way to use the time frames and the EMAs as well. And then we also had another entry, which was around this 9 a.m. And the reason for that entry was we had an anomaly on the 15-minute time frame. So this is again on the 15, Q on the right, SPY on the left. And the reason we started looking for a put entry here was because we saw decreasing volume as we saw price push up towards this orb high. So that right there showed us that that move was pretty much fake. So then we can start looking for put entries around 9 a.m. So then we jump back to our 5-minute and our 2-minute. And pretty much we just, where are we at? Right here. So pretty much what we want is just to break below the 200 to give us that confirmation to start looking for the puts. And then one big indicator would have been this right here. So the reason for that being is another anomaly. Price pushes up on decreasing volume, and that follows up with a big red candle with higher volume. So then on this candle right here that breaks the 200 and the 48 EMA, that would have been a great entry right here. So you got a few different things going for you. You got this anomaly on the higher time frame, which is the 15-minute. Jump down to the 2-minute, and you spot this other anomaly and a break below the 200, and the 48. So boom, good entry right there. From 671.60 all the way down to at least 669 would have been the first target. And from there, we break the pre-market. This wouldn't have paid off as much, but also could have been another possible entry. We see the retest going to the 13 EMA, retesting the orb low, retesting this pre-market level, and we push up on way smaller volume than previous candles. So here we could have waited for the break of this trend line, and it would have been this right here with the increasing volume on this red candle. So you could have entered here. It's pretty decent risk reward because your stop would have been right above the 13, but price just didn't move down from there too much, from 668.80 to 668.16. From there, you get this push up, and this would have been a great entry as well. And here's where the 5-minute would have came in handy, because right off the back we pushed to past the 13 EMA. So the 13 is our retest level entry, but we pushed right past it and right past the orb level as well. But the strange thing about that one was the volume was actually slightly lower than its previous one. So that kind of gives us a indicator of something going on here with the price. And then we push higher on this 2-minute to touch the 48 and the pre-market level before pushing back down to close below those levels. But on the 5-minute, it shows that the volume did increase on the green candle, but the way that the green candle closed shows that the sellers stepped back in here and pushed the candle back down below the pre-market on the 5-minute. So once we got that, our entry could have been after the close of this candle right here. So we would be closing below the 13 EMA after this rejection up here. So that would have been a really good entry right here. The candle closed below. And boom, you can get that move from 668.50 to 665.66. And it went even lower, level to level. And yeah, that pretty much shows how these time frames, 15-minute and the 5-minute and the 2-minute, all kind of can work together. And then the first step being just to get a confirmation on your 15-minute chart. Once you get that, you move down to the smaller time frame to look for an entry on the pullback. On the 2-minute, it's the only chart that I like to keep the EMAs on. And yeah.